everyone, welcome in. This is a pop-up live for temperature rings. So if you guys have not seen temperature rings before, there should be a link in the description box below the video to tell you where to go buy the pattern, all of that. So what I've got so far up on the wall that you guys can see is going to be M1 and M2. M7 is down below, and we're going to put M8 up there in just a little bit. We're not going to worry about it just yet, but we're going to get there today. So this live may be a little long. It may be, it may not be just like a short little hour. It's going to be putting these together as much as we can following the temperature rings pattern. So if you guys have been looking at buying the pattern, this is a pattern I designed. It is using an AccuQuilt Go die set. You can use a stand-in die set. I believe we found that you could use the, don't quote me on which one you can use. I did find one that you can use, but I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, and I would be able to do a little bit with it. William's got a question. Do you need a thermometer for temperature rings? Asking for a friend. No, you don't. You just need a computer. Everybody else has the thermometers. You can pilfer them. So we've got Chloe, we've got Judy, we've got Sheila, we've got William, we've got Debbie, Judy, Linda. Guys, welcome in. Terry, welcome. You guys are fantastic. You guys are absolutely fantastic. All right, so I'm going to go over what you're seeing up on the wall so that we can get into this and go a little bit about it. If you do have the pattern, Terry, you're being funny. If you do have the pattern, what I'm going to be working out of today is the bag workbook. There's a lot of print on this page. I do apologize. You can check things off as you go, and that's kind of what we're going to be doing today. And this is month 1. You will not be able to sew all of month 1 when you get done with month 1, okay? And I'm going to get into why here in just a minute. Chloe says, love the purple, Tammy. Thank you so much. I am so excited about the purple. I really, really am. This is our first year living in Casper, so being able to put that purple in the place or into this quilt, I'm absolutely in love. And I did finally decide on my half arcs, so you guys get to see that decision here in just a little bit as well. So here's what we're going to get into. All right, when you have the temperature rings pattern, you're going to have arcs 1 through 28 are going to be your outer arcs. So this one right here at the beginning of month 1, whatever month 1 is for you, whether that is January or whether that is midway through the year, your arc 1 is always your top outside arc on your, as you're looking at it, your left-hand side of the quilt. Welcome in, Liana. She says hello all. She came in to say hi. She's heading to bed soon. Oh, thank you. She came in to give a thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so this is arc 1 right here. This is arc 2. As we go around the quilt, then we'll come up. You guys really can't see it, but arc 27 is down here. And then arc 28 is here, okay? So all of your outside arcs are flat fabric unless you're going to piece them. Welcome in, Sherry. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. All right. So in some of the other lessons on this pattern, what I've gone over is that you start your month, whatever month you're starting, wherever you're at. This is always going to be a 0. So this is 30. This is arc 30. Welcome in, Mona. Glad you're here. Guys, thank you. Please make sure to give me a thumbs up while you're here. I appreciate it. So 30 is here, 31 is here, 32 is here, and 33 is here. Okay? That is 0, 1, 2, and 3. That's your first 4 arcs. So 34 goes into your next piece. So 4 is here, 5 is here, 6 is back here, off, off to the back, and 7 would be right here, okay? 8 is down at the next block, so let's pretend we're at the next block down. 8, 9, and we have another 0. So this is 40 down at this bottom block. 1, so 41, 42, 43, 44, and 45. Okay, so that is month 1. You actually have 4 M blocks, 4 M pieces as well. Sheila says, I'm not making this, but I might learn something by watching. Absolutely. We're going to be doing some curved seams today. Oh, and happy birthday, Mona. Glad you are feeling better. Awesome, Liana. Yes, get some rest. You definitely deserve it. So every time we have one of these blocks, this is M1. This one right here is M2. M7 is on the board. M8 we're going to put on the board here in a little bit, but I'll move all this up once we've got these put together. So every time you're putting one of these blocks together, you're going to sew this top football section first. You're going to sew this bottom football section second. You're always going to sew your left side first, and then you'll sew your right side, okay? So it is always going to be top, bottom, left, and right. Now M2, if you guys are looking at your block pages, and I'm going to show you your block pages here in just a second. So, all right, block pages, this is M1. So it's telling you right here in the page, I know you can't read on the screen, but if you have the pattern, you should be able to read it. Your arcs, your setting squares, and your Q pieces, which is your peels, they're here, up here, down here, and off to this side. And when you're looking at your bag workbook, you're always going to have your bag number. So this is M1 that we're working on first. You're going to have a FB, so football unit 1 is going to be your top. Then you're going to have a football unit bottom, a football unit left, and a football unit right. But if you see, you've got a lot of blank spaces in bag 2. You only have a football unit top. Okay? You do not have a left unit, a right unit, or a bottom unit to M2. Okay? So M1 has all 4. M2 only has a top. There will be some bags that have nothing in them other than your center, but that's keeping everything separated. If you are doing paper pieced letters, you need to have your paper piece letters for January done, and those are on your layout worksheet. Okay. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. I know I may skip over some things unintentionally. I've lived with this pattern for over a year. You guys are still getting used to it. So if I skip over something, please let me know. Chloe says, I washed my fabric today. Have to starch it so I can get started. Oh, perfect. Perfect. You're not too far behind. You are not too far behind. Okay. So I'm going to point out something, and we're going to see. No, that still doesn't. That doesn't help with reading. Okay. We were going to see if it would help. It's not going to help. All right. When you are looking at your bag workbook, it's going to tell you arc 1, Q1. Okay? So as I said before, this is arc 1. This is your Q1 right here. These 2 pieces are your first 2 pieces to sew. Okay? Aside from sewing your data, chart, whatever, you're sewing your top arc to your peel. Okay? So we're going to go to the machine. Let me make some adjustments. Welcome in, Helen. Glad you are here. Glad you're here. I'm going to take the I can't talk, guys. I'm going to take the light off of my machine, and we are going to reset this real quick. So I'm going to bring the camera down so you guys can see what I'm doing at the machine. So bear with me just a second. Mid process change. Sorry. Mid process change. Okay. Let's see if we can do that. This is my least favorite tripod in the whole room. Just saying. It doesn't like me. It doesn't even reach the floor. So I have to finagle with it. So bear with me just a second. Oh, everybody wishing Mona happy birthday. Yes, I agree. Happy birthday, Mona. It is not every day that your birthday comes around. Oh, we're already zoomed in. Okay. Well. Welcome in, Jess. Glad you are here. Glad you are here. We are dealing with my lack of planning when it comes to getting you guys set up to everything so you can see everything. I did not think through the sewing part and that you guys might want to be able to see that. All right. There we go. All right, so now we've got this set, and let me transition you guys over so you guys can see. And I'm going to get the extra stuff out of the way. And if I need to pick it back up later, I will pick it back up. Guys, my retreat does start tomorrow morning. I still have not issued out the time. If you are wanting to sign up for the retreat, do !retreat in the chat and go put your information in, and we will get you onto the retreat so you can come hang out all weekend. You can hang out all weekend. Come sew, come ask questions, come hang out with other like-minded people, all of that stuff. Okay. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. This is the back side of my arc. Okay, that's my arc. So this is the back side. And with the templates that I included, or the AccuQuilt die, whichever way you're gonna go, you will get these little notches. Oh, you're fine, Mona. If you want to join in for just Sunday, you can do that too. It's entirely up to you. So there is a notch on the peel piece as well. You're going to match that center notch, guys. So that's why those notches are important. You're going to match those center notches. And I'm just going to stick a pin in it to hold that notch piece in place, okay? So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to also come down here and about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge, we're going to pin this in place here. So you're going to have a little bit of your peel sticking out, about 1/4 inch of your peel sticking out. That is what you want to see, okay? So we pinned one end, we've pinned the center, and we're going to come in here and we're going to pin the other end as well. And we're going to pin it the same way that we did the other end down at the other side of this. We're going to pin with 1/4 of an inch away. So we're going to put a pin in it right there, and there we go. So now our piece with our arc and our peel is ready to sew into place. I'm going to leave the arc on top. This is the bigger piece of my fabric. Some people sew with a bigger piece of their fabric on bottom. I have found with this particular project, it is easier to sew if you put your bigger piece on top, okay? You do not need a super tiny stitch length for this part. For all of the piecing of your data points, you need a really small stitch length. You do not need that for this, okay? So all I've done is I've taken 2 stitches to get my piece started in there, and I've taken the pin out. You do not want to sew through your pin. Awesome, Jess. She says she's taking notes. She's ready to put January together. Perfect. Yeah, this is a project that you can just sit at your table to do. You don't necessarily have to put it up on the wall like I have done. But I know it helps to see it. So what I'm doing as I'm sewing is I'm just matching my seam edge right in here, right up against my machine. I'm just matching that, and I'm just readjusting as I go. So the trick with sewing curved seams and getting a clean curve every time is to just take it slow and readjust. So I have a knee lift on my machine. So I don't know how well you guys can see, but my presser foot comes up anytime I use my knee lift. Welcome in, Jennifer. Welcome in, Joyce. Happy belated birthday, Joyce. So as you sew maybe 3 or 4 stitches, and then you put your presser foot back down and you keep going. Yes, Helen, she says, is your sewing machine equipped with a top walking foot like Faf has? It is, yes. Bernina calls it dual feed. You don't have to necessarily use a walking foot for this. You can skip the walking foot if you want. I have kind of become accustomed to having it automatically already on this machine, but I could easily sew this on Ricky, my smaller machine, without having to worry about that. All right, so I've got this still attached to the machine. I'm just going to take and cut this off. And I left my little bitty snips on the other table. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's what I get for picking them up and carrying them over there. I left them where they were. All right, so I am using black thread, guys, because it is matching my background fabric. So here's what you're sitting with, okay? It kind of forms a little bit of a standing piece, because you now have a curved seam sewn. And what I'm going to do is I am going to press these all the same direction. I'm going to press these in towards the center peel. So all of your top pieces of your arcs are going to be pressed towards the peel, okay? So I'm going to put that together first, all right? And I did put a little bit of steam on it, so now we have the top part of the football unit. Okay, I didn't press it well enough, bear with me. There we go. A little bit more steam on it. I'm happier with it. All right. So I could go ahead and sew this next piece, but what I'm going to do is instead I'm going to drop down here and we're going to do the same thing. The top arc and the peel is what we're going to sew. Okay, this is always the order you need to go in. It is going to be your top arc and your peel is what you're going to sew together. So I have my peel and I have arc 33. So what that means, this is the bottom unit, so arc 33, and this is Q8 is my peel. Following this direction, like following it the same order every time, will help keep you, organized as to which direction you're going. If we changed order or you just sewed it whichever way you felt like it, whichever time you got there, if you happen to get any of these out of order or your labels come off and you have lost them, then you have no idea where you're going, okay? So my my arc has, let me make an adjustment. I'm not trying to make you guys dizzy, I promise. So my arc has its little notch here and it has a notch up here, but we're always going to be sewing these peels to the inner arc. So I'm going to take a pin and I'm going to put a pin in that. And I'm going to come from the back side. I'm going to come from the arc side because I do like my arc being on top, okay? So again, what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to put a 1/4 of an inch outside the edge. Let's see, there we go. 1/4 inch outside the edge here. And we're going to put a pin in that. And we're going to come to the other end and we're going to do the same thing, 1/4 of an inch, and we're going to put a pin in it. Now you can keep reusing these same 3 pins for the majority of your project. So if you're going to a quilt retreat or something and you want to sew on these, as long as you have your bag workbook with you and everything is labeled, then you are safe to sew. Sherry says, good teaching method, Tammy. Thank you. Thank you. I want to make sure that it's something that is easy enough to understand because, like I could probably say this till the, I'm Southern. I could probably say this till the cows come home. But there is nothing like, I've lived this pattern for over a year. I've worked on this for over a year and, wrote the pattern myself. So it's a lot easier for me. So I want to make sure that I'm making it that easy for everyone else. So if you're getting stuck or you're getting stopped, I want to make sure that I'm there to help you. Now, one of the things, the sewing guide, so I was using Sewing Guide G, I believe. Sewing Guide G has the 8 different sections because I'm doing 4 variable, the 4 variable option. So there's 2 days on each of these arcs. And because there's 8 different pieces of fabric on here, going with the arc side up also means that when you've trimmed this arc to begin with, you can also make sure that you are sewing directly through that point so that you have a clean finish when you get to the other end. Let me repin my marker because my marker wants to come out. So these are the little arc numbers. I will get there eventually, guys. Those are little arc numbers, and I am keeping those pinned in place until they are attached and I have a verified method of which way I'm going. All right, so that is now attached. I'm going to trim my extra thread because I don't need it anymore. Now you can chain piece these too. If you're comfortable with chain piecing, you absolutely can chain piece them. Just chain piecing doesn't show you as easily exactly how we're doing this. Okay, so just like we did up here, this top arc, this top part of the football unit, and the top part of this football unit, those are now sewn. We're doing the same thing left to right. So we're doing top to bottom this way, and we're doing left to right this way. So we're going to grab this left arc. This is arc 28. And we're going to grab our Q, which is our peel. And we're going to grab those, take them to the machine, and do the same thing. And this will get all 4 of them. Like once we do the other one that's still up there, this will get all 4 of them for this particular unit, for this particular bag. So that's going to mean that we are ready. Once we get this done, all of these football units, and then we get them sewn to the M center, that will get all of bag M1 completely done. So M1 will just be waiting for our final assembly, which is really, really nice. By the time you're done with month 1, you will be able to sew M1, 2, and 7 completely. M8, you will not be able to sew until you get the rest of the pieces made. So please do not be disappointed if you can't sew the entire piece. Just come sit down and sew it all because you have to wait for other dates. Okay? So again, we're going to do the same thing we did before on those other arcs. We're going to take a couple of stitches, readjust, take a couple of stitches, readjust, and just take a couple of stitches at a time. This is not a rush project. Please do not ever think that this is a rush project. It's not a good idea to rush this one. This is that craftsman project that is going to take a while to do. This is like building one of those, you know, those beautiful Victorian era, you know, Victorian inspired homes in New England or Virginia or whatever. They're not, it's not a quick sew, but it will be so rewarding when you get it done. So, how are all of you doing today? How are you doing? It is a Friday. Are you guys who all knew that I was coming live today? Who all knew and, you know, was planning to be here, or who all didn't know and just happened to see me live? All right, so we got this one done. Chloe says, I don't mind taking my time. Yes, you kind of have to on this one. Kind of have to on this one. This is not one of those that is any way, its shape, or form easy to rush on. Welcome in, Zaza. Welcome. Glad you are here. All right, so now we have the left side of that unit. So we're doing the same thing here. We're going to do the left side of this unit, okay? So don't let the fact that these are valid data arcs, don't let that confuse you, okay? Judy knew that I was coming live. Sherry knew. Awesome, you guys. You're fantastic. You're fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. All right, so we're going to do the same thing that we did last time. We're going to line up that notch, and then I'm going to flip it over. Yes, Ollie, he says, hi, TV temperature rings. Yes, that's what you're seeing up on the wall. We are starting to put the first month together of temperature rings. It's a long process quilt. It's a long process quilt. All right, so again, we're going to leave 1/4 of an inch of our peel sticking out, and we're just going to pin through. Ollie says, I just got here. Oh, I know you did. You're fine. You're fine. Yeah, temperature rings is the pattern I designed. It is available for purchase. It is a temperature quilt that is also a double wedding ring quilt. I decided that I wanted to do a double wedding ring quilt and a temperature quilt. And Helen says, just saw you were alive and had no clue. Oh, that's fine. That is fine. I'm glad you saw that I was alive, though. That's great. The notifications are working. Yay. I'm so excited about that. I'm so excited. So I do have a retreat this weekend, guys. So starting tomorrow morning. And I'm thinking we're talking 8 a.m. my time. Welcome in, Dawn. She says, hi, everyone. Glad you're here. All right. So I made a mistake. I pinned my piece, and then I went to put it under the machine, and I unpinned it, and I didn't hold it in place. So if that happens, don't try to just sew it. Go ahead and take your time. Take your piece back out. Go ahead and line everything up. Oh, Ollie didn't get the notification. Oh, no. You may want to see if it's turned for all or just the ones for you or something. Because I think that's like been my problem too. Sherry says you can't hide it from us, Siri. Oh, no worries. I don't want to hide. I don't want to hide. Except when I need bed, when I need to be in bed, then I'll hide a little bit. But welcome in, Katie. Katie Graffs is saying hi, everyone. Chloe says she'll be at the retreat Saturday night and some on Sunday. Hey, that is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. I have not worked on any of my February temperature rings data, so I'll be working on that. I have the arrow quilt that Joyce didn't get the notification either. Oh, no. Oh, Ollie did get one, just not the red notification. Oh, okay. Okay. So we're going with the pink or the green one. Okay. I don't know what notification colors there are, guys. I really don't. All right. So this is why I said that you guys want to make sure that you have bias set in the pattern, that I want to make sure you guys have bias edges on the outside edges of your arcs, because you're going to need to be able to stretch these pieces sometimes to make them fit, and having a bias edge makes that more possible. All right, so this is arc 32. Chloe still has to finalize her ranges. Oh no, that's okay. That is okay. It, you know, I finalized my ranges, but to be honest, I'm kind of worried about my low temperature range. I think I didn't account for how high it could potentially get as a low temperature for the day. So I don't know if I'm going to have to add more fabric and more ranges. Ollie says, I am home computer ever since they changed to compete on cell phones. This happens or I don't get a notification at all. I understand that. Oh, that's fantastic, Chloe. She's going to be going to a new quilt shop tomorrow with her sister-in-law. So I will be stepping out of my own Zoom retreat for a little bit. And I will be going to, there is a local craft sale that's going on. So I'm going to be stepping out for that. All right. So we've got all of M1. So I'm going to just start. I'm just going to stop. I'm not going to do anything with M2 yet. I don't want to confuse you. All right. So M1, we've got the top arc here. We've got the top arc here. We have the left here. And we have the left here. Okay. That is exactly the route that you're supposed to go. All right. So here's what the next step is. This bottom arc and your setting squares. Now, if your setting squares have different colors, or you've chosen them based off of any other factors, or you have paper pieced them, you need to pay attention to the colors. So if you are doing different colored setting squares, having a design wall for each block as you go, each M section, that would really help you out a lot in making sure that you're not messing anything up. Okay, so the side or the setting squares are not hard at all. You're going to line them up with the edge of the short edge of your arc, and you're going to sew 1/4 of an inch along that edge. Okay, now I have pinned all of my numbers in place originally at the sides of my pieces. So I'm having to move these as I go. So don't forget, don't sew over your numbers if you've pinned them to your sides. Joy says that her sister and a friend are taking her to lunch tomorrow, so she'll be stepping out too for a little bit. Oh, no worries. No worries at all. I don't even remember what time the sale thing starts. So if I decide I don't want to go, then I may not go. It's going to be what it's going to be. All right. So we've got one side sewn. And I'm just going to leave the thread on there because I can trim it here in just a minute. I'm going to line up my next one. And I am going to sew the other side setting square onto this arc. Okay. So I am doing applique letters this time, so I will not have setting squares with letters on them. But if you are doing letters, then between M1, M7, and M8, you will have those in play, okay? You will have to deal with those. All right, so now that I've got this, well, I thought I got all the threads off. I didn't. Okay. Now that I have all the extra threads off, we are going to press this out, and we are going to press the seams towards the setting squares, okay? So you are pressing them away from the center. So trust me, that is the correct direction, okay? I didn't put any extra water in my iron, so it's not wanting to give me steam. Oh, all right. So now we have the bottom part of the arc. And until I get these other 4 sewn, I'm just going to lay it back up there. Okay. All right. So we're going to do the bottom one. We're going to do the same thing. You're going to sew the outsides to the center, and you're going to press towards the setting squares. Okay. I'm hoping that this makes sense. This is the same direction you want to go throughout the entirety of the quilt. And I will show you how you can tell if you've done it right here in just a few minutes. There is a way to tell. There is a way to tell. All right. Today is actually National Sticky Bun Day. In case you wanted to indulge, today is National Sticky Bun Day. Hi, Rita. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. I just started talking about sticky buns because I'm talking to myself. I know everybody's just watching. I promise I know. It's cognitive, I know. Everybody's saying hi to everybody else. Yay. All right. So during the retreat, you guys will see me working on this a little bit more. You'll see me working on the arrow quilt. I will probably do some quilting depending on how we have. Yes, today is National Sticky Bun Day. Ollie says now I want a sticky bun. I'm not a sticky bun person. I'm really not. All right, so again, we're going to press towards the setting squares. I haven't mesmerized. Oh, I have you mesmerized. Okay, gotcha. That's kind of a good problem to have. Jess says maybe I should kickstart my sourdough starter and make some. That's up to you. That's entirely up to you. Just don't do what I did and just now and melt your sheet protector. That is the second time I've tried to melt one of these sheet protectors on this project, guys. Did I actually damage the paper? Or did I just... Nope, just the sheet protector. Chloe says, sorry, I'm listening to quilting. Need to finish some project for the Finish It Quilt on. Oh, no worries. I'm just giving everybody a hard time. Wonder, does it mean sticky buns if you spell soda and sit in it? That would be sticky buns. Oh my gosh. Rita, you're so funny. You're so funny. All right, so we got the bottom of the bottom football unit. Okay. Now we're going to get the side one. We're going to go to the left side. You always want to go in the same order. When you start looking at these arcs, even if they look close to identical, they might not be. Or they could be. They could be identical. Could be the same ranges played in for 2 different days. And so your arc is identical to another arc. And it's very quickly going to get you out of order. And it's really hard to figure out where you were if you don't have your labels on there. Welcome in, Donna. She says she made sourdough bread today. Oh my goodness. I made a mess in my chair. I bet it did, Rita. I bet the soda made a mess. Huge mess. Maybe soda kinda. Soda kinda, Rita. Sorta kinda, yeah. Jess says that she's melted a good many sheet protectors. Oh. I don't know how I keep doing this. Katie says that she's still sewing Owl from the 100 Acre Wood. Let's just say she's spending too much time with Jack, and I'm glad they sent extra fabric. So William told me the other day, oh gosh, it might have been a week ago now. I don't know when he told me. Somebody is calling their seam ripper the divorce lawyer. And I think it is just absolutely such a precious name for your seam ripper. So yeah, I kind of want to. I kind of sort of want to call mine a divorce attorney as well, divorce lawyer. Mountain Dew is pure corn syrup. No, it does not clean up good. You're right. You are absolutely right. Well, there have been times that I have spent just as much time ripping as I spent sewing. There's a quilt in the closet that we are still in the process of slowly ripping. My hand can only handle so much, so I'm enlisting help. Um, Sherry says, Katie, is that Jack the Ripper or Jack Daniels? Which Jack are you spending time with? All right, so now we've got the right side of the left football unit. So now we're going to get the right side of the right football unit. And again, if you are doing letters, please make sure you are paying attention and you are labeling your setting squares. If you've colored them differently, like they're not all the same color, or if you are doing the letters, make sure you label them correctly and match the letters. For mine, it does not matter this time. Zaza says, Sherry, the latter caused the former. And Katie says, Brandy from 100 Proof Quilter calls it that. Okay, is that who it is? Is that who it is? Oh. It was Jack the Ripper, but soon it'll be Daniels. My Jack Daniels is a gentleman. I have a bottle of Gentleman Jack. It has taken me more than a year, and I am still not through even half of it. So, I am a very, very slow consumption rate for it, but it was Brandy, 100 Proof Quilter. Okay, yeah, for the divorce lawyer, yeah. I love that name, though. It's so appropriate. I need to find a new one since I lost my original Jackie. And so now I have 3 jockeys. I need new names for my seam rippers. And somebody suggested Mo, Curly, and Harry, but then I would have to play like Three Stooges stuff all the time, and I can only handle so much of them. They're good. They're good. Don't get me wrong. They're good. But I can only handle so much. I am too serious of a person some days. Oh, I did bring up my new to me sewing machine, and she is going to need some major stuff. She needs a new foot pedal. Her foot pedal is missing. She has a power cord, but no foot pedal. She does roll roll through. I inherited a new to me vintage Bernina, and she is from 1958, I believe. So I have a vintage Bernina, and she's going to need a new foot pedal because she doesn't have one. I don't know what happened to her old one, but it is non-existent. She did come with one bobbin. She did come with a bobbin case. And she's got one presser foot. She even has thread on her bobbin, which I'm quite shocked by. So we will see. All right, so you guys see me using Jackie, or, my new to me divorce lawyer. What happened is my thread seriously bunched up on the back. So I did not want that in my finished project. And this is another reason that I call this a craftsman project. If you if you have something like that happen, just take the time, go ahead and fix it. Don't try to keep it going. You shouldn't have problems finding foot pedal for that. I'm hoping so, but everywhere that I've looked so far has been no luck. So I'm going to have to keep looking to see what I can come up with. I may put it out to my dad, who has a lot of computer time on his hands, and just go, Dad, this is what I need. This is what my current, plug-in arrangement looks like, and can you help me? Will you look and see if you can find something and send me links? because I get so burnt out trying to look for things sometimes. Do you ever get burnt out looking? Ollie says I'll find one. All right, it's a Bernina 532-1. 532-1. Kermit for no, because then I'm gonna keep thinking Mrs. Piggy or Miss Piggy, and I can only handle so much of Miss Piggy. She's like Elmo for me. She's not Elmo, but she's kind of like Elmo. She's got that high pitched voice that's hard for me to handle. So yeah. All right. So now what we've got. All right. So we've got a top arc piece. And we have a bottom section to go with it. We have a bottom top arc and the bottom section to go with it. As I knock my my number out of the pin. All right. And we have the left part and the left right. Yes, 532-1. And then we have the left part of the unit, and then we have the right part of the unit. Okay, so now we're going to start attaching our units together. Okay, so we're going to attach the top to the arc. And it is a Bernina, Ollie. It is a Bernina. It needs an updated power cord. It needs a grounded power cord. All right, so here's where it gets challenging. Okay, and this is the main part where it's going to be challenging. So we have a point here. So we are going to, again, put our arc on top, and we're going to match that notch, okay? That is first and foremost, is you're matching that notch. And if you can't pin directly in at that notch, pin next to it, okay? You're going to have a lot of fabric right there because of the seams that we have in the data part. You're going to have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of fabric there, okay? You're going to have a lot of fabric. All right, so your next piece that you're going to pin is you're going to come down 1/4 of an inch from the edge of where you sewed your square in place, and you're going to match it to the 1/4 inch down from your arc, okay? However you do that best is up to you. Your end pieces should match when you do it, okay? If you are matching your 1/4 inch here correctly, then this should match up, okay? If you're finding that it doesn't match, please make sure that you're cutting it accurately. Cutting it accurately will go a long way towards putting you back to where you need to be. All right, so I'm going to look for my 1/4 inch, and if you need to take a measuring tool and measure this and mark it, do that. So you're going to measure 1/4 of an inch in from your arc piece or your peel. You're going to do 1/4 of an inch from your edge, and your pieces should line up, and they do here as well, okay? So you're going to put a pin in as close as you can to it. And because this is the last section that I'm sewing, because I'm going to sew with my arc on top, I am going to go ahead and put a pin all the way down here at the end as well. So now what we have is we have no pin because we're going to start sewing here. We're going to have a pin here where we hit the 1/4 of an inch. We're going to have a pin here where we hit the notches, a pin at the 1/4 of an inch, and then a pin at the very end of our piece. Reese says that is really nice. Looks like one of those colorful masks that they would use at Celebration where that dragon comes out. Oh my gosh, yes it does. You are so right. You are so right. I wasn't even thinking of that. I was just thinking about what colors would represent, you know, the best things for me to record. And, you know, so I settled on red for high temperature. We did orange for hours of daylight because sun is yellowish orange. And then we did green for the wind speed. And then we did blue for low temperature. All right, so I'm easing up to where that 1/4 of an inch pin was. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you guys couldn't see it. I'm sorry. All right. So I'm easing up to where my 1/4 of an inch pin was. Um, don't don't try to rush sew this, okay? It is a lot easier to take your time to sew this than to unpick and re-sew. Because when you start unpicking on bias, you start stretching it, and depending on what kind of memory your fabric has, you may not be able to get that memory back out, okay? So try your best to just take your time when sewing so that you don't have to use Jack or your very best asbestos friend, or you don't have to sing the seam ripper song or call the divorce lawyer, you know, all of that. Okay? You want to just take your time. All right, so I've just put my presser foot back down, and I'm going to sew a couple of stitches and keep checking. Camera showed better before. Oh, it did it? Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wish that there was an easier way to do this. You know what? Please do not get motion sick. I do apologize in advance. And no, I cannot do that. Okay. I'm sorry. My camera will not let me do that. The cord is not long enough. I was going to try to bring you guys down to catch all of it. And let's see. You know what? Let's move that down and move that a little bit as well. Oh, I really should have thought about the machine. You guys needed to be at the machine. Maybe called the Year of the Dragon celebration or something like that. It might be. Oh no. Chloe says that she's got to get Jack out. Some of her quilting seams are off. Ouch. Well, I also have a sample project that I've got to do. And so that will be another project for this weekend as well. As I will be working on that sample project. And if I can get that one done, I will also go ahead and do mine. Gotta love springs, right? Gotta love springs. All right. So now we have this entire piece together. We are going to press towards that center piece, okay? So everything is going to press towards the center. So because we pressed in towards the center from our original outside arc, from our top, and then we pressed out, then these seams actually nest really nicely, so it doesn't create a lot of extra bulk. So there is definitely a reason in pressing it that direction. Rita says that she's tried everything to get her camera down to see as well, but cord is not long enough. So I actually have another cord I can attach, but I can't do it while I'm on a live. It is way too climbing up in a chair, you know, level stuff. It is not for the faint of heart. It's not a do during the live kind of thing. All right. So now you have your first football unit. Okay. So this is football unit top. So if we're trying to mark things off in our notebook, we would go in and go check this off. This is now created. Okay. I have one seam that didn't cross the direction I wanted. I'm going back and fixing that seam right now. All right. There we go. And so now we have the top unit. Okay. So this entire piece is now ready for its next step. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing to the bottom unit. We're going to put the arc piece onto the bottom of here. Okay. So we're going to take and match our notches. Okay. And this is the easiest way for me to hold it. So I do apologize that this is not your typical this makes this easier kind of thing. It is just the easiest way for me to hold it. All right, so we're going to go to our 1/4 of an inch, about where that's at, and about where our 1/4 of an inch is on the next piece. Line those up and make sure our ends are fairly close to matching, and they are. And we're going to pin there. And then we're going to go to the other side, do the same thing. And I can't see to save my life. Here we go. It happens to me too, guys. It really does. My eyesight has changed as I have gotten older, and it is a real thing. I did not realize how real of a thing your eyesight changing was going to be. Well, joke's on me. Your eyesight does change as you get older. Oh. I'm kind of bummed that my eyesight's changing, but that's okay. It's part of getting older. It's part of the natural progression of life. All right. So now we have our entire arc pinned. So we have our bottom pinned to our top. And we're going to sew with our bottom on top. Now, if you find that it is easier for you to sew with your arc pieces on bottom, so you have the bigger piece on bottom, then by all means do it. That's how I would normally sew any curved seam, is I would sew with the bigger piece on bottom, or the curved in piece on bottom. But this project, it is just so much easier to sew with the smaller piece on bottom. And just take a few stitches, stop and readjust, take a few stitches, stop and readjust. Because it will all come out as you sew. Just don't rush yourself. Don't rush yourself. There's no reason to rush in this project. Chloe says it's tough, Tammy. I agree. The getting old part, getting older is hard enough. Do we really have to add the eyesight problems to it? Oh. And they're doing everything they can for me for my eyesight, My eyesight's not that bad, honestly. But I'm definitely getting older, and it's not fair. It's not fair. All right, how many of you are at the stage where you have to turn the radio down to see where you're going in the rain? If you're driving in the rain, do you have to turn the stereo off to see where you're going? I'm hearing weird noises outside, guys. I apologize. It's like a semi-truck is outside. And there shouldn't be one. We're all getting there. I hope so, Helen. That is my goal. I want to get there eventually. So I hope I will get there eventually. Oh, there we go. Moving that out of the way so I can get to my iron better. Let me go ahead and press this. Let me put my number back on there because my number was starting to fall off again. All right. Oh, a stiletto will help also if you like to use one. I do, but it's a little bit harder to demonstrate on camera for everyone, so I tend to not use it on camera for that reason. Chloe says that she tells her kids to quiet down. Oh, and they're just like, Mom, what's wrong? Oh. Ellen has to turn her radio down too. Okay, so here's where the specific order comes in handy, okay? So now we have an arc with 2 data point arcs, okay? Nice and pretty. What happens if my arcs are upside down? Like my arc numbers are upside down. Good night, Mona. Thank you for being here. So if you accidentally have your arc numbers upside down, what are you supposed to do, right? How do you know, like, let's say you drop this on the floor and accidentally roll over it with your chair and you have no idea where it goes in your quilt. Do you have to just remake everything? No, you don't. So the way that you can tell is you look at your piece. All your seams should be pressed towards the center. Okay, so you're going to have your seam pressed towards the center, and you're going to have your seam pressed to the center, and then your outside seams right here where your setting squares are on both ends are going to be pressed up towards your top. Okay, so thank you, Katie. She says been looking and watching, love the colors. Thank you. So your seams are pressed from your bottom arc are pressed up towards your top arc. Okay, so that tells us this is my top. Okay, so in case this gets dropped or whatever, you can figure out which is your top and which is your bottom as long as you're sewing them in the same order, because your seam allowances are going to be pressed towards the correct direction. Okay, so it's going to play a role also when we are doing left and right. Okay, your arc that goes onto your, or the, I can't talk, guys. All right, so your left is the equivalent of a top. Okay, so when we put this on and we press everything towards the center, we're pressing towards the left. So all of your seams, your final seams on these football pieces are pressing towards left, or they're pressing towards top. Okay, so you don't have to worry about as much about which direction things went, as long as you're pressing everything in the correct order. Okay, so I've pinned my center. We're going to come back over here again. We're going to look for our 1/4 inch away from the edge. We're going to look for our 1/4 inch away from the edge, and we are going to match them. Make sure that our ends pretty well meet, and they pretty well do. The more accurately you cut this, the easier it is. So if you don't have an AccuQuilt, that's okay. You don't have to have an AccuQuilt. This pattern is written so that you don't necessarily have to go buy one. But please make sure that if you're using the templates out of the book, templates out of the pattern, that you are matching everything up. Oh, good night, Helen. She says night all. Good night. Thank you for being here. Thank you, thank you. All right, so I've got my 1/4 inch here as well, and we are going to stick a pin in it. We're coming back to it later. We're going to come back and sew it here in just a minute. So we stick a pin in it. Yes, agreed, Joy. She says, sweet dreams, Helen. Yes. Yes, all of us need sweet dreams. All of us need it. So I am thinking about 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, Mountain Time, for starting the retreat. Is that early enough for everyone? Or is that, do y'all need me to start it earlier? This is your one chance for feedback on it. One chance. If you're coming to the retreat, do you want me to open it earlier than 8 a.m. Mountain Time, which is 10 a.m. Eastern? Or do you want me to, is 8 a.m. fine? This 30-second delay, guys. I'm used to it, but I'm still not used to it. There are days. There are days. So let's see. I'm trying to think. I got so many things going through my head, guys. That is good for Sherry, she says. Awesome. And like I said, I may need to step out, but the retreat will still be open. So whoever's there is in there. Awesome. Sherry's open to other times as well, if need be. I know that there's like not a lot of people that will be live at their normal times tomorrow because of QuiltCon. So I know that's going to help a little bit. So you're not missing everybody that's at QuiltCon. Unless they go live, you know, randomly throughout the day tomorrow or Sunday. I will still do my Sunday Night Live, guys. I will still do Sunday Night Live. That is not going anywhere anytime soon. All right. So now that I've got this arc sewn, if I did not know which direction it went, I would need to just look at the seams and see, okay, this is pressed this way, so this is either a top or it's a left, okay? So that is a key point that I want you to take away from this. Make sure that you sew these in the same order every time. Because if you start swapping which order you sew them in, or you sew them differently, you might end up confused about where things go, and then you'll end up frustrated. And that is the last thing I want for anyone. I don't want anyone to be frustrated with this. This has a lot to it to begin with. Then adding frustration is not the cool thing. It's not the mom plan. I should be spent after Sunday. Oh, I will be. I will be toast Monday. That is for sure. I will be toast. The nice thing about retreat though, and this will be your first retreat with me. I don't necessarily I don't teach the entire retreat. So it is not me teaching. It is us hanging out and sewing. So it is, you know, proverbial letting the hair down, you know, that kind of deal. It's not I do not teach unless you want me to teach you something while we're on the Zoom. I don't teach. I will teach something if you ask me what, you know, if you ask me a question or you have something that you want me to teach you how to do, I will absolutely do that. Because then I have access to all of my scraps. I have access to all of my supplies. I don't feel bad about stepping into the closet and grabbing stuff if I need it, like I would on a live. Chloe says I enjoy hanging out, right? Hanging out is the best sometimes. Oh yeah, it will definitely be fun, Sherry. I will be exhausted. I can guarantee you that. I will be exhausted, but it is so much fun. You know, I'll take breaks, you know, go eat, and I'll take a break, you know, go to that little quilt craft show kind of thing, where people are bringing things to sell, and you know, maybe there's something there that I just can't live without. You know, we're gonna see. It's quilting and crafting, so it's not just quilters. But I will be there, you know, I'll go there for maybe an hour and come back. I won't be gone long. And it's just down the road. Quite literally. I could probably get my electric wheelchair to take me there and back. I just don't really want to try to push the range of it. I used to be able to do my scooter for that kind of trip, but my scooter has not been. The battery on it's dead. Battery has seen better days. All right. I keep reaching for my cutter on the machine, but I'm wanting to trim it more at the fabric anyway. Welcome in, Gladys. Glad you are here. All right. So this is our last arc, guys. So if for any reason at this point I got redirected and had no idea which direction this goes, again, seam allowances is going to tell me which way this goes. Okay? So that is the key point I want you to take away from this. Always sew the football units top to the middle and then bottom attached, or left to the middle and right attached. Okay? That's the way it is laid out in the bag workbook. And that's the way that you do need to attach them. Okay? All right. so let me fix this one little seam that does not like me very much. All right, we're good. We're good enough. Okay. All right, so again, if I didn't know, does it go this way or does it go this way? I can look at the back and all my center seam that has my setting squares is pointing this way towards my left. So because that's the position that this needs to go in is, left, then I know that that's exactly where that's going to go. All right, so we're going to do the same thing attaching to the center. This is like the big finale of this block, okay? So we're going to attach the top first. This is the moment you've been waiting for. All right, I'm going to pin my arc number out of the way. And you can start getting rid of the arc numbers as you go, or you can leave one or two of them in place to tell you which direction the block goes. So if I had any questions about like which direction was top on my block, again, the seam allowances are going to tell me that, but we're going to get there. Okay. So this time the arc is actually going to be on bottom. Okay. So when you start sewing the M pieces, this M square, if you will, when you start sewing that, the arcs finally go to the bottom. All right. So we're going to pin the center square or the center notch. And then we're going to come out here to the end and we're going to measure about 1/4 inch in. If you want to measure this properly, you absolutely can, okay? Do not let me stop you. All right. So we're going to pin into our setting square right now to pin that because that's where the 1/4 inch falls into. And we're going to pin at the other one. All right. Now here's a cheater's trick. Okay. You sewed 1/4 inch to sew your setting square in place. So you have 1/4 inch seam allowance right here. So you can take and line your piece up with the edge of your seam allowance on the back side. Okay. So if you have any problems gauging what 1/4 inch is, as long as you've tested your 1/4 inch on your machine, you can use your 1/4 inch seam allowance here to line up your piece. Okay. So this time, this piece is on top. Okay. The M pieces are always on top when I attach them. 9 times out of 10. That is the way that I do them. All right, so we are going to start at the very edge of the M piece. If you can see back behind here, I still have my setting square back there. I'm not going to worry about pulling that in place or anything like that. It is just going to be extra right now. And I'm not too concerned about it. Okay. Now, if you did not thoroughly press your fabrics or starch them before you got started, or your seam allowances for your data arc are not laying flat, then you may want to take some extra time to press that before you get to this step, because you don't want those seam allowances flopping on you or changing direction as you are sewing this arc. But again, stop and readjust as you need to, okay? Do not try to power through it if you are not 100% sure. All right, so now what we have is an arc with a floppy piece, okay? That is what we have. All right, so I'm going to press these towards the center piece, okay? That's the way that I want to press this. I don't remember if we had directions on that in the pattern. If I end up correcting myself later, you will know why. All right. So now, in case I needed to double check, that is my top. So this is my bottom. Okay. And this is also another place where you could accidentally get these turned around one direction or another. So that's the key for your seam allowance. So my seam allowance is going towards this section. So this is my top arc. Okay. So that's the part that I'm going to be sewing to the center, sewing towards this M piece. Okay. So I'm going to flip over, match the notch. Okay. And then we're going to flip this over so I can pin, and we're going to sew again. We're going to pin again, but we're going to sew with the arc on, with the M center on top. Now, if we were doing block 2, if we were doing M2, which is what's still up on the wall back in the corner, if we were doing M2 right now, all we would have to do is attach that top piece, make that top football unit, attach that top piece, and we're done. That is all you need to do to it, and put it back in the bag. Okay? So, when you're looking at all of these units and you're looking at the bag workbook, if there's only one football unit and it doesn't say hold to the end, then you can go ahead and sew that in place. All right? There's nothing stopping you from sewing that one, or sewing everything that is not hold to the end in place and going ahead and putting it back in the bag. All right. So we got 2 more football units to sew to this one after the one that we're sewing right now. And then I'm going to show you what we're looking at for the rest of the month. For the rest of the month of January. So you guys understand what you're looking at when you're looking at the book. Or looking at the pattern. I keep calling it a book. It basically is a book. It's more than 20 pages. Does anybody have any questions so far? Or is this pretty well making sense? Oh, welcome in, Lana. Glad you are here. You will definitely want to watch replay, sweetheart, if you've not been lurking. You will definitely want to watch it. All right, so now we've got the bottom section attached. I'm going to press up towards the center, okay? Ollie says, I'm glad we didn't have footballs in high school like these units. That would have been like a kaleidoscope coming at me fast and maybe in from the side. Oh, you crack me up, Ollie. Oh, that's so funny. I needed that. I needed that. All right, so now that I've got this, what happens if I drop it and I don't know which way I'm going? Again, look at your seam allowances, and provided that you are following the directions in the pattern as well as the directions I'm giving you guys, please, that will tell you which direction you're going. Okay. All right, so now, so we did top and bottom. Welcome in, Della. She says, hello, new here, everyone. Oh, you're so welcome to be here. Glad you're here. I'm not normally live on Friday nights, but here we are. All right, so left unit next. Okay. So again, if I drop any of this, use your seam allowances to tell you which direction that you're going. Chloe says, not yet. I'm a little nervous, but I'll figure it out when I get there. Yes. The first maybe 2 or 3 are challenging. Oh, Della. Did I say Della correctly? I think I did. I have a great niece that is Della. I think they nickname her Della Bean. Or Deli Belly or something like that. I don't know which one. I have yet to meet her in person. I have not gotten the privilege yet. All right. So now that we've got pieces already in place. And this is why you do these in this order, okay? Now that we've got this piece in place, so we've got our center in there as well. Awesome, Della. Glad you're here. Thank you, thank you. All right, so now you're going to match your setting square of your arc up with your setting square of your other arc piece, your other football unit, okay? And so we're going to match those up and make sure that they're going to line up, and we're going to pin directly through these seam allowances right here. If you need to use a clip for this, use a clip as well as a pin, okay? Do not scrimp on pins for this. Do not scrimp on clips for this, okay? You need the extra clipping power on this one. Just because you're going through a few extra layers and you want it to not shift. The goal is to not have it to shift while you are sewing. Let me actually shift it down right now because I shifted while I pinned. It shifted when I pinned. All right. So I'm holding it this direction, but I am pinning from this direction, okay? Because we are going to sew with the arch on the arch of the center. We're going to sew with that on top again. So we're pinning it in. Terry says she's so confused, but that's a beautiful quilt pattern. So creative. Thank you. I think it makes a lot more sense once you actually have the pattern in front of you too. This one is a very challenging one to try to pick up without the pattern. Della says, what a beautiful pattern here you're doing. Thank you. So I made a quilt called Temperature Rings. And Cynthia, she says she can't stay, but she'll be back later tonight in an hour maybe. I may not still be live right then, but you can always watch the replay. Always watch the replays. Especially for anything you might have missed. All right, so I wanted to do a double wedding ring quilt, but I also wanted to do a temperature quilt. And I decided that the best way to do both of those quilts in the timeline that I had was to put them together into one thing, into one unit. So I adequately put one together. This one has a pattern and a code to it. Yes, it does. It does have a code. But the book for this, or book, if you will, it's like 60 something pages. It's long. Terry says, I don't see where the temps are in the quilt. The sewing is not a problem. I sew curves. Yes. So when you're looking at the arc that's up on the wall right now, or the football unit that's up on the wall, that red is my high temperature for a day. The yellow that you're seeing is actually an orange. That is the hours of daylight for that day. The green is the wind speed for that day, and the blue is the low temperature for that day. So every arc of this quilt has 1 to 2 days of data in it, depending on if you're doing 4 variables or 2, and depending on if you're stretching variables to match. Like if you're doing a 4 variable quilt but you don't want to do any fill-ins, then you use stretch starts. If you are doing 4 variables and you don't want to stretch your fabric out, then you're doing half arcs, which is what I'm doing on this quilt. My other one I did stretched, and this one I'm doing half. And then this quilt is going to have applique letters. So I am working on January this time. That is what month 1 is for me. But I did write the pattern, so you could start at any specific date that worked well for you. So, all right. Cynthia's looking forward to this retreat. I am too, Cynthia. I don't know if you're still in the chat, but I'm looking forward to it. I really am. All right. So now we have our left arc put in place, our left football unit put in place. Lana says it might be long, but it's very thorough. So excited to do this. Love the pattern, and you've done awesome with the pattern writing, Tammy. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so now that we've got the top and the bottom in place, and those are pressed in towards the center, the left and right are going to be pressed out away from the center, okay? So when you come back over to your iron, that is going to tell you that your top is pressed in towards your center, and your left and your right, or your top and your bottom are pressed towards the center, and your left and right are pressed out. So again, if you run into any kind of hiccups where, oops, I dropped it on the floor, or, somebody came and moved my pieces around, I would still be able to figure out which direction they're going. Okay? So let's say you're looking at a bag workbook sheet or bag workbook thing, and it has a top, left, or top, bottom, and left, but it has no right. This is what your block would look like. Okay? This is exactly what your block would look like in your colors, obviously. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add this last piece. Okay? Month 1, or M1, M3, M5, M8, M10, M12. Like, a lot of these do have all 4 arcs to them, guys. But, that's a strange Pac-Man. Ah, Ollie, you're hilarious. Yes, it is a very strange colored Pac-Man. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. All right. So all we're going to be doing this time is doing the same thing we've been doing. So we're going to flip it over, match that notch, and then we're going to flip it so we can sew from the opposite direction. We're going to sew from the center of the piece, okay? That just makes this so much easier. And again, when we come to these sides where we have these setting squares, we're going to match those setting squares up so that we can pin through the seam allowance, and that those setting squares are going to be exactly where they need to be, and they're going to match up beautifully. Okay? Chloe's laughing too, Ollie. I played Pac-Man a lot. I didn't play Pac-Man as much as I played Tetris, but I played Pac-Man a lot. And yes, before anybody asks, yes, I do want to do a Tetris quilt. No, I have not planned it yet. It is not, I know there's a pattern out there, so I wouldn't have to think it through, but no, I have not planned my Tetris quilt yet. It is off in the ether. It will be years before I get there. It will be a palette cleanser quilt, I think. Gotta have a Pac-Man, or gotta have a Tetris quilt. I don't know about a Pac-Man quilt. I didn't play Pac-Man enough. I think I was just not good at Pac-Man, maybe. That's why I didn't play it as much, maybe. I don't know. There is a pattern out there that is based off of Tetris. There's a Cubert quilt. Yes, there is. There's a lot of quilt patterns out there. There are so many patterns out there. My next quilt top will be probably the little heart one that I've got to get done. Welcome in, Tasha. She says, hey, Tammy in chat. Glad you're here. Glad you made it. We are working on a little bit of temperature rings. I'm going to leave the rest of this up on the wall and show what we're doing with M8. But this will be the last of the sewing probably for today. My back is not cooperating, so I'm having to pace myself. The large pixel size makes lots of the old games easier to do quilt. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's also why Minecraft really took off too, because there's a lot of Minecraft quilts out there too. Because it's pixelated. It's already easy. Cross stitch and needlepoint and all that did it too. They tap into the old games. It's a lot harder when you've got this, you know, moving character that you can barely pause and has a lot of curves and not very pixelated is so much harder to do. It's almost like they're human. Tasha says she's sitting on her couch debating if I want to go down and sew now that my kids are asleep. Oh, Lana got caught by autocorrect. Oh. Yes, absolutely, Tasha. And I am hosting a retreat. I don't know if you've heard, but it starts tomorrow morning. I think we've done the consensus that it is going to be 8 a.m. Mountain Time. So if you want to sign up for that, do !retreat in the chat, and that will give you a link to the retreat. All right, so now that I've got that last one sewn in here, you know, I could flip this any different direction, guys. So the important thing is to press my seams the direction it needs to go. It's the only seam that's not already pressed, which makes it a little bit simpler to figure out which one I'm working on. So if you don't press as you go, just like when you're sewing the data points, if you don't press when you go, you may miss out. Yes, Chrissy, or yay, Katie. 9 a.m. Central. Yes, it is, Lana. Yep, you got it. 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. You guys got it. Now, if you have not starched any of this in the process, oh, that's fine, Tasha. Come and go as you need to. Same thing, Katie. Come and go as you need to. Welcome in, Kathy. Glad you're here. Color coded and seam keyed. Yes, it is. Very much so. Okay. So, you know, I could flip this any different direction. And if you're not looking at my seams, you would have no idea which direction this goes. So, but because I know which direction my seams go, I know which direction this goes. All right. Now, if you've not used starch and you want to use starch, now's the time to do it. Okay, just make sure not to stretch your pieces. Okay, don't stretch anything. All right. So now that we're done with that one, this can go back in the bag. Okay, this is M2 right here. So we have arc 35 goes in bag M2. So once this football unit is sewn, all I have to do is attach it to the top of this, and then it's good to go. Okay, so now we're going to move this up so that it's out of the way a little bit. All right, because we need to pull out M8. And I'm going to show you guys why here in just a minute. My pins are coming out. All right. So I've already got M7 lined up. Okay. So, all right. We have a left arc set for M7. So again, when we sew it, we're going to sew the outside arc. We're going to sew the left side to the center. We'll sew these two setting squares to the arc here. And because there is not a top in this bag, that's everything that we got to sew. Okay? So you have one football unit and the center. Okay? So before I confuse you more, when this goes together, that's where your top arc would be. Okay? So your top arc for M7 is attached to M1. Okay? So don't worry when you start seeing that there's not all of these arcs attached in all of these different places. Okay? Oh yeah, I definitely agree. That is way too early for a wrestling match. Way too early. Okay. So, let's grab bag M8 and here's what we're going to do. So, M8 has a top unit. Has ARC 37 and Q10. If you needed to mark your Q numbers or whatever, you could. All right. Here's your center. We know we're going to have a center. Okay. We know we're going to have a center. So I'm not worried about that. Okay. So ARC 37. Let's see. Where am I at? There we go. ARC 37 Q10 is part of the top. And so it's listed on the book as ARC 37 and Q10. What that means, ARC 37 is your top. Q10 is your peel. That's how you know where that goes. Okay. Then for the same football unit, we've got setting squares 83 and 131. And we have ARC 43. So I'm looking through my stack to get ARC 43 out. Here's ARC 43. Okay. And I've got 2 setting squares. Okay. Is that making sense so far? Let me know if it's making sense. Ollie says, I keep getting confused on the days as it progresses. Okay. So when you are writing your data into your data sheet, you could actually put the numbers out beside it. So 30 is going to be January 1st and 2nd. 31 is 3rd and 4th. 32 is 5th and 6th. 33 is 7th and 8th. 34 is 9th and 10th. 35 is 11th and 12th. And you guys can't see it, but 36 is not on the board right now. Okay? 36 is in a different bag. 36 is in bag M3. So they are ordered in the direction that they go. So it does go around these 4 units. So you'll always have, this will be your first day, second day, third day, fourth day. Or, well, first 2, second 2, third 2, fourth 2 days. So you can absolutely do it that way. All right, so that's the top unit for M8. So now let's do the bottom unit. That's ARC 45 and Q23. All right, ARC 45 is the last one for this month, okay? Now, I have opted to do a half arc. That is what I'm doing this go around. So what my half arc looks like is I've got my 4 data points from January 31st, and the rest is purple fabric, okay? So I'm going to always know that that is the end of the month because there's no data past there, okay? So there's ARC 45. I thought the circle completely nests into the next round. It does. Oh, it does. It absolutely nests. So the parts that are not on here are in the next bags. They're absolutely in the next bags. All right, so this was supposed to be ARC, the bottom unit for M8 is ARC 45 and Q23, which are up there. Then I've got my setting squares, and then I've got ARC 95. ARC 95, we haven't hit yet, guys. ARC 95 is in a different month. So I can't do this bottom unit, okay? So I can't assemble the bottom football unit. All right, left is 40, ARC 40. So I'm going to grab ARC 40. And my center, I'm dropping things. I apologize. All right. So I've got my squares. And I put this a little too close, so it's my fault. And then arc 42 is the other one that goes in here, which we do have because that is part of this month one. It's part of January. Okay. So I have the left football unit. And then the right unit is arc 44 and arc 58. So arc 44 is the first one. Arc 58 we haven't gotten to yet. Okay. Let me move this just a hair. Okay. So arc 44 is here. Arc 58 will be here. We haven't gotten there yet. Okay. So when it comes to sewing these together, M7 is complete. All right. This is the only football unit that goes to M7. So once this is assembled, this can be assembled together. Okay. Once we get here, we can assemble the top of the football, or we can assemble the top football unit. We can assemble the top of the bottom football unit. We can assemble the left part of the football unit here, the left football unit, and assemble the right to it. So we can assemble the whole unit here. We can assemble the left part of the right football unit. Okay. So we'll have our setting squares just kind of hanging out between our bottom and our right football units until we get the next month in place. Okay. With that being said, because you always assemble top, bottom, left, and right in that order, you will be able to assemble the top football unit to this center, and then you will have assembled pieces in the bag with you. Okay? The only part of 8 that you can assemble at the end of January or at the end of your first month is going to be the top football unit to the center. Okay? So even though once M8 is completely done, it will look like this in its bag, you can't get there yet. Okay? I do not want you to panic. That is how the quilt is written. That's how the pattern is written. That's how it's going to come out. Okay? So please do not panic. It is written correctly. You can only assemble that top section and assemble it to the center. Okay? Now, if it is harder for you to assemble parts of a football unit and not assemble a whole football unit, then do the top football unit that you can completely assemble. Do the left football unit you can completely assemble. Put the top to the center, and then put everything back in the bag. Okay? And then, depending on if you are doing a down and across method, or you're doing an across and then down method, that will determine whether you can assemble M8 in February or if you're assembling M8 in April. Okay? So if you're doing a down and across method, which is what I am doing this time, then you will hit M13 in month 2. You'll hit M13 in January. If you're doing the across and down, you won't hit M13 until you hit month 4. So that is as designed. Okay. You don't need to put these together. Once they're to the point that you can assemble everything that you can assemble, put them back in their bags. If you want to do labels that say top, you can do labels that say top if you need that. Or you can do, however you want to label them however, okay? Whatever's going to stick in your mind and it's going to make the most sense. If there's a way, there's a school of thought. Okay, if you go looking for your lost car keys, the first place you look is usually is where you need to put your keys from now on. If you always look for the cheese in one particular drawer in your fridge, but there's a different drawer that's actually labeled for cheese, then forget the labels. Go with where you're actually going to find your cheese. Put things where it makes sense to your brain. Having a magnetic pin cushion by the machine doesn't work for everyone, but it works for me. That's where I reach for it. A lot of these other tools that I use at the machine, I don't reach for them by my machine. I reach for them other places, so that's where they go. So do the same thing with this project. Make it the way your brain thinks. If you need to make yourself notes, okay? It is designed to work by the end. I promise. We're going to have a big assembling party next January because that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a big assembling party because we're going to have a lot of fun putting all of these pieces and parts together. And once you have worked through all of the different months and all of the different M bags, the M center bags, it's going to make a lot of sense when you get to that end part, how it all fits together. It's just going to make sense. It really is. So I want to thank you guys for being here. If you have any questions, if you need to reach out to me, you can always leave a comment on the video. If you're watching replay, you can always send me an email. I try to answer those within 24 to 48 hours. If I don't, it's not because I didn't intend to. It's because I'm delayed for one reason or another, but I will get to it. But I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for coming out. I know this isn't my normal time, so I appreciate you guys coming out and supporting me. If you have not hit that thumbs up like button, please do that. Just can't see the hole from the parts of the quilt. Oh, that's okay, Ellie. We will get there. We will get there. Believe me, we will get there. Kathy says that she hopes to get this pattern. Oh yes, please do. Please do. If you have any problems getting the pattern, let me know. I will fix it. I'm still in talks with my website, running everything. But I will send the retreat email out here in just a few minutes to everyone who has already registered for the retreat. The retreat signups are now going to be closed. Oh, thank you, Ellie. He said he almost forgot the thumbs up done now. Thank you. So I will see you guys that have registered for a retreat sometime this weekend. And if I don't see you then, I will be live tomorrow or Sunday night at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for After Sunset Sundays. And you guys will get to see the very slowed down version of me by then. So thank you all for being here. Have a great